Hello and welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast, hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and as always, plenty of entertainment. Well, how are you doing? It is nearly the end of July. How in the heck did that happen? It feels like the summer has flashed past us at record speed. In fact, this year has really flown by. Is it just me? Or is it that we're getting older and time seems to be moving at lightning speed? Have you felt the year fly by too? It is just crazy. Now, there was great excitement at Ironman 70.3 Swansea 2 weeks ago. The sweltering heat made for a scorchio day on the course, and the racing itself was sizzling hot. The first Ironman Pro Series race in the UK did not disappoint. Harry Palmer and Kat Matthews breaking the tape ahead of a stacked field of professional men and women chasing precious Pro Series points, racing alongside 2,500 age group athletes, made for an exhilarating day of racing. If you are looking for some inspiration, by the way, to keep you motivated over the coming weeks and months, then check out the Instagram account of Owen Peddle, at Owen Peds, P-E-D-Z, who set himself the challenge to take on Ironman 70.3 Swansea. 9 months ago, he couldn't swim, he could barely bike and walk, and he weighed 23 stone. But on Sunday, July 13th, he crossed the finish line of Ironman 70.3 Swansea to rapturous applause and a deafening crowd. He charted his training journey on Instagram. The highs, the lows and everything in between, undoubtedly inspiring many people to set their own triathlon or training goals. He is most definitely worth a follow. It's been busy on the microphone for me since Swansea with the Galway Sports Partnership Inclusive Triathlon, hosted in partnership with the Brothers of Charity and Triathlon Ireland last Thursday. It was a superb event that saw participants enjoy and embrace the opportunity to swim, cycle and walk to their finish line in Kilcornan Woods. A heartwarming and fun event to be part of. Saturday was the 20th anniversary of the Francis Thornton Galway Bay Memorial Swim, a 13k voyage from Aughnish in County Clare to the diving tower at Blackrock in Salthill in Galway. The event that was started by Francis Thornton's son Kevin and his two friends Ronan Collins and Simon Flatley 20 years ago raised €3,000 and since then has grown into one of the most iconic swimming events in Ireland and has to date raised almost €1.8 million for Cancer Care West. This year saw 47 solo swimmers and 32 relay teams made up of 114 swimmers take to Galway Bay to make the crossing. It was such a fantastic atmosphere down at Blackrock Diving Tower on Saturday afternoon. Congratulations to everyone who swam the bay. It certainly was no easy feat. Now, they have set up a virtual challenge to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the swim, where you can swim the bay your way. So no matter where you are in the world, you just simply complete 13 kilometres of swimming across the month of August, all whilst raising funds for Cancer Care West in the process. You can swim in the pool, the sea, the river, the lake, wherever it takes your fancy. Just make sure that you do it safely. More information on the virtual bay swim can be found on www.galwaybayswim.com. Then on Sunday, it was the final event in the Athletics Ireland Race Series for 2025. The BioFreeze Irish Runner 10-mile road race incorporating the National 10-mile Championship in Dublin. A superb field of runners lined up on a damp and drizzly morning in the Phoenix Park, chasing championship titles and personal bests, with many others lining up to simply conquer the 10-mile distance. Congratulations to all finishers, with a special shout out to the newly crowned national champions Ryan Creech and Megan Ryan. Next up for me on the microphone is Ironman Leeds this weekend. There's been great excitement for this inaugural Ironman and I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather holds up and plays nice for the next few days. I've never been to Leeds, so a new destination is always a bonus. My own training has been hit and miss the last few weeks, as always, as we get into the heart of the announcing season. Although I have managed a couple of runs, bike spins and some swimming each week, and more importantly, I have completed 2 of the Galway Tri Club aquathons in Salthill. They are so much fun and a super chance to push the pace on a midweek training session. The social aspect, of course, is as important as the swimming and running. That post-race cuppa is the tastiest cup of tea you could have all day, and pizza night last night was such a double treat, and it ended up being such a glorious evening in Salthill. The sea was flat calm for our 1.2k swim, which I really wasn't expecting to be able to do with my total lack of swim training, but I managed to get through the swim. It was fabulous. And then we had about a 4.5k run up around the back of Blackrock. It was a gorgeous evening. I am definitely making full use of my obsession with the Nuasan Active CBD gel, and I don't leave home without it, especially on the night of the aquathons. It gets lashed onto my legs post-race. Now I know it's only a 5k run, but it is such a treat to put it on my legs after the race. The heat from the gel is super, and my body isn't broken on a Wednesday morning when I wake up. In case you haven't seen it, Nuasan have reduced the price of some of their products, and if you use the code TTS15, you can also access a 15% discount online on www.nuasan.com. It's a win-win for your credit card and for your body. Now, let's get into chatting about our guest for this month. He really doesn't need an introduction, but definitely deserves one. Alistair Brownlee is a true legend of triathlon, widely regarded as one of the greatest short course triathletes of all time. A two-time Olympic gold medalist at London 2012 and Rio 2016, he became the first man in history to win back-to-back Olympic golds in triathlon. Beyond the Games, Alistair has claimed world, European and Commonwealth titles and helped elevate British triathlon to unprecedented heights alongside his brother Jonny. Their sibling rivalry and partnership became one of the sport's most iconic and inspiring stories. Since retiring from professional sport late last year, Alistair leaves behind a legacy few can match. His career has been defined not just by medals and milestones, but by how he raced, with heart, with grit and an uncompromising will to win. From Olympic dominance to middle and full distance triathlon success, his relentless pursuit of excellence has left an indelible mark on the sport of triathlon and on triathletes all over the world. As he transitions into life beyond professional racing, Alistair's influence on the sport of triathlon continues to have significant impact. In this conversation, Alistair reflects on life after professional sport, from running and cycling with friends for fun to embracing gravel racing and other sporting pursuits, leading business ventures and his charitable work. He's navigating a new phase with the same passion and purpose that defined his career. From his work with True Fuels and his commitment to the Brownlee Foundation, we hear how lessons from professional sport now inform his entrepreneurial mindset. He opens up about the highs and the pressures of Olympic success, the physical and mental challenges of injury, and why simplicity in training still brings him such joy. This is a conversation about discipline, transition and perspective. And whether you're chasing a podium or just looking to enjoy the ride, you will definitely enjoy this deep dive into the life, legacy and next chapter of Alistair Brownlee as he continues to push boundaries and inspire a whole generation of triathletes. Now go grab a cuppa and enjoy the show. Alistair Brownlee, I am absolutely delighted to have you on the Try Talking Sport podcast. What a privilege it is to have you on with us. Firstly, where are you and what are you doing today?
Fantastic to be here. Nice to see you again. And yeah, well, I'm at home actually in Yorkshire. And what am I doing today? I went out cycling with some of my friends this morning. It's a Tuesday and kind of meet a group of guys some Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. I'm at home, had a fair bit of work to do, meetings and stuff online. And that's about it. Quite relaxed, really.
You look very chilled, to be fair.
Thank you.
Have you got the cup of tea as well? I have a cup of tea.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, got a cup of tea, of course. Yeah, it's quite warm actually, even though it's cooled down. I don't know. We had crazy weather in the UK over the last week or so. It's so hot, and now it's kind of raining, but it's still really hot and humid.
Yeah, so I was in Swansea at the weekend. So it's 2 days post Swansea. As you can hear, my voice hasn't completely recovered yet, but it was sweltering heat in Swansea. And of course, you won that race back in 2022. And I think it was a Scorchio day back then as well.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely stunningly beautiful, to be honest. When I did it, that is a lovely part of the world. When you get out onto the go up, they're really beautiful.
You retired back in November of last year. So tell me, what have you been up to in general? What's life like as a non-professional triathlete, but a busy entrepreneur?
Yeah, retired. I don't know, is that 8 months ago now? I haven't been counting. I guess I started off with kind of doing a load of holidays, going away. I did a trip to Norway. I did some various skiing trips, which was fantastic. I always wanted to do more skiing and never got the chance. So that was amazing. Spent a bit of time in the Caribbean over New Year. That was nice as well. And then slowly kind of, although I had a bunch of things kind of post-retirement that I knew I wanted to do or do more of. And that was one of the kind of the big driving forces behind the decision, really. I kind of knew it was right, and I was starting to get more excited about some of the things I had to do beyond sport than I was excited about the things I could do within sport. So yeah, so that was one of the reasons. And yeah, my day's a combination of some work in kind of consulting work, some various project work, work for an investment business, a venture capital fund, and some of my own entrepreneurial interests, of which True Fuels is one of them. Spatsware is another, and various other things that I work on.
Tell me a little bit more about True Fuels, because this is a new nutrition product, that a company indeed that has hit the market recently and making waves in athlete nutrition.
Yeah, well, I'd always had an idea that really sports nutrition, kind of a principle based on two things, kind of simplicity in approach and simplicity in ingredients. And simplicity in approach comes from, I think for the vast majority of people where nutrition goes, or their event goes wrong for them, whether it is a long distance triathlon, an Ironman or a marathon or an ultra run or whatever it might be, I think it goes wrong because of nutrition. And that's for loads of reasons, but I think most of those reasons are very are simple, things that should be pretty easy to overcome. People take too much or too little, the wrong things, take something that's never practiced before, pick something up on the course that they then take a load of, and they're just not used to. And so I thought if I can find a way to try and communicate with the user of how to take the right things at the right time in a simple format, then actually you're making a kind of massive positive difference. And the second thing was, yes, I personally found when I used nutrition myself, and over the last few years, I was starting to adapt and build my own nutrition really kind of seriously over the last 4 or 5 years. I found removing as much as I possibly could out of sports nutrition meant that I could take more of it without any stomach problems. And so that's the philosophy it's based on, educating the users and having really high quality ingredients with the least amount of ingredients as possible, and only what you need.
So what are you actually creating with the True Fuels? Is it gels? Is it bars? What are the products that are available?
So the first product is a performance gel, and there's two forms of it, a lower salt and a high salt version. Both versions have 40 grams of carbs at the 1-to-1 maltodextrin fructose ratio to deliver the most amount of carbs possible. And the idea is that it's stackable. If it's a hot day, you can use 2 or 3 of the high sodium, high salt gels per hour to deliver the salt you need. So you don't need to add extra salt. If it's a cooler day, you can use the lower salt versions. If you're just going out for an hour's run, you can use one gel. If you're trying to fuel maximally for an Ironman bike or a time trial, you can use 3 gels per hour for 120 grams of carbohydrates.
And I know before you retired from the sport, you were involved with Spatsware, and you've written a book, and you've done lots of other bits and pieces, including the Brownlee Foundation as well. So you've been, dabbling in lots of things away from sport whilst you were an athlete. So what's it like now, balancing your time between your business interests and doing sport for leisure?
I'm loving it, to be honest. I'm still doing quite a lot of sport, riding my bike quite a lot and running quite a lot. I'm doing events that I've always wanted to do. I did something called the Auction Hope Straw Race last weekend that is running 5 kilometers. I actually did it in fancy dress as Donald Trump with a very ironic hat on. And you have to stop at 6 pubs and carry a bale of straw. So yeah, doing different things. Did the Three Peaks Fell race before that. I've been doing some gravel racing. So just, yeah, enjoying staying fit and doing the exercise kind of when I want to do it, what I want to do when I want to do it, which is awesome. And yeah, I've got a really great combination of other things to keep me kind of engaged and to keep my mind working. And it's good. Every different day is a different challenge. I genuinely enjoy, picking up one thing and working really hard on a big data science project, and then thinking about sports nutrition, and then thinking about Spatsware or whatever it might be. It's great.
And in terms of your love of sport, let's go back a little bit. Let's rewind the clock a bit. I mean, most people know your story at this stage, so we're not going to delve into that too much, but let's go back to the very beginning. Where did that love of sport begin? And were you always competitive and driven for success?
I think it began at a very young age. I've got no idea why, but I remember going to a swimming club and just kind of being obsessed of winning medals like my mum had. And I remember going to do my first ever cross-country running race at school, and unlike probably every other school kid there, I was useless at it. I was nearly last. And my dad thought I was going, he was going to have to resuscitate me because apparently I went so red and looked so unfit. It was terrible. But I remember loving it. I've still got these like kind of visceral memories of running around in the mud and enjoying it and finishing and thinking, oh, I want to do better at that. I'm do some training and think about what I eat and all these things. And I think it started there. And yeah, kind of competitiveness, yes, but ultimately for me, it was just all about being the best and improving what I could day on day. I think that's kind of something that really stuck with me. I mean, I really never paid that much attention necessarily what other people were doing. It was about me turning up every day and trying to be the best I possibly could.
And then in terms of bringing all the lessons that you've learned from sport now into your role as an entrepreneur and involved in business, there's so many things that you learn in sport that you can bring across. What's the biggest lesson that you're bringing from your sporting years now into your years of retirement, I'm going to say, but it's not really retirement because you're still probably as busy as ever?
Well, I'm hoping that there are good lessons to bring across, of course. I'm still very much learning and, some of the amazing things of, I'm doing. I'm very lucky to learn off some people who are brilliant at business and world class at business, I guess, as I was at sport. And so, it's amazing to be able to learn off them and try and see and work out those lessons that I can take across. But I think a few things are really important. The first one, I think, is self-responsibility. Ultimately, in sport, you either cross that finish line first or you don't, and it's your fault if you haven't. And you've got to do something about that and take full responsibility. So, and I think that is the same in business. If something needs doing, it just needs doing and executing and taking that away. And that includes overcoming challenges, which is in sport. We talk about resilience a lot, and I think that word gets overused sometimes, but it is a constant test of being resilient. Every single day you're going to probably do a session that you don't want to do, or go a bit harder than you want to go, or something hurts a bit more than you like it to hurt, or whatever. And yeah, constant challenge that you've just got to overcome and work out how to overcome.
I saw recently that you had posted something on Instagram where you said that pressure is a privilege, that a coach said this to you. How important is that as a mantra to consider when you go about your daily life, whether it's an age group athlete looking to take on their very first Ironman, or whether it's somebody who is in a high-powered, high-paid job who is stressed to the gills? Having the opportunity to be under pressure is really a privilege.
Of course, it's one of the things that's very easy to say and difficult to act on and remember, isn't it, in the key moments? But it is much more than a cliche as well. And the kind of second part to that statement is pressure is a privilege, but because it means you've earned the right to that pressure, which means you've done something to earn that right, and so enjoy that. And yeah, I think that was very that was kind of very important kind of aspect of looking at a way of looking at things for me. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the same whether you're trying to do it in a sporting context or a business context. And pressure's kind of relevant to everyone, isn't it? Or relative even. I probably felt in some ways similar amounts of pressure trying to win my first, whatever it was, under 12s national title as I felt when I was at the Olympic Games, because they both meant so much to me. So, remember kind of individual people's achievements on or challenges, goals, whatever they might be, at whatever level they are relative to the individual as well.
I do like that saying, and when you look at the deeper meaning of it, is that you've been put into this position of responsibility. You are under pressure because somebody is relying on you, or, when you go to do a race, for example, I have an aquathon tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it because I'm absolutely wrecked tired, but the pressure to do it is a privilege.
Just do it.
Because I know. I'm like, actually, I might just go for a little run and then I'll volunteer instead.
You won't regret it. I promise you won't regret it.
I know. I can make all the excuses in the world. We had the pro series at Ironman 70.3 Swansea at the weekend. There was a lot of pressure. And even, with the pro panel and all of the production pieces and everything. And you kind of go, God, I'm under so much pressure. But then you take a step back and you go, wow, these people have entrusted their event into my hands. These athletes are expecting a golden moment on the magic carpet. And that pressure that we have really is a privilege. And it shows that we've been given responsibility. I like what you said, how you reflected briefly on the pressure maybe that you were under for the Olympics. I want to ask you about winning gold in London in 2012. Must have been absolutely surreal, but it's 13 years ago now at this stage. When you reflect on it, what does it mean to you now when you look back on that result and what it did to catapult you and Jonny and British triathlon and the sport of triathlon globally?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy to say that pressure is relative, but I think that was definitely relatively to me a big pressure moment. And yeah, I think it just changed fundamentally. I don't think anyone starts triathlon to be famous or for notoriety or for also people know who they are, and especially not 20 years ago. And all of a sudden, I remember thinking a few years before, and I was winning races and thinking, oh, it's kind of quite fun really being at a race, and people might know who you are, and people come up and ask for a picture, but if you go home to Leeds and really no one would care, like no one would even know what triathlon was. And then all of a sudden in the Leeds Olympics, that completely changed. People would recognize me, would know about triathlon, would say, "How's the next race going? And are you going to win and beat your brother? And what, are you looking forward to winning the Olympic Games?" And I was just thinking, "Wow, this is a different kettle of fish." And so, yeah, I definitely felt that, and that did kind of add into the mixing pot of it all. But it was, for me, it was the biggest pressure was the pressure that I put on myself, and that gets said a lot as well. But I felt such a burden of responsibility that I'd done so much training over such a long period of time with so much expectation on that day that I had to go out and perform. And that was enormous. And so the rest of it was there, but maybe not as significant. And the other thing was, yeah, the kind of sense of the occasion. I remember going out on the course beforehand, and there's all the crowd and signs and saying "Go Al, Al and Jonny" and the flags and everything. I'm thinking, well, this is a lot here. There's a lot of expectation here, and then just thinking, what an amazing opportunity that all these people are here to support us and see us do well. This is so special. So it goes both ways, pressure. If you can, and again, it's one of those things that's easy to say and difficult to do. You definitely can turn it into a real positive.
What age were you in London 2012 that time?
24.
It's a huge responsibility to have on a young 24-year-old's shoulders, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was, and in lots of ways, it was a good job. I had some great people around me, like my coach Malcolm, to be able to talk about it, because yeah, there was kind of probably that was where I was getting the support from, and I was very, very lucky to get that support.
And then your second Olympic gold in Rio. How did that compare to 2012? It was you and Jonny first and second across the line in Rio.
Yeah, well, obviously being first and second across the line at the Olympic Games is an absolute dream, isn't it? So it went perfectly, and that was incredible, and obviously perfectly because I won. It wouldn't have been perfect if I hadn't, and so it was amazing. It was very different for me because it had been tough lead up. I'd been injured in different ways, and I felt like it had been a big kind of personal challenge to get there, and in some ways, although I really wanted to win and do my best, I probably had lower expectations. And, I was thinking, I don't really know what's going to happen here. I'm going to go all in to the best of my ability, but who knows quite how this is going to turn out. So, yeah, I think lower expectations is the right way to describe it like that. But it felt different, felt more of a personal challenge, but was obviously, amazingly satisfying to pull off.
I'll never forget the video of you and Jonny crossing the finish line. You fall to the ground. Jonny kind of comes on the ground. And then there's just this gorgeous moment of the two of you together. In terms of your career and Jonny's career, how much of your successes is intertwined? You drove each other on, the rivalry between you, but then also the camaraderie and that blood tie between you is so important.
Yeah, a lot of it, and I think neither of us would have achieved anything like what we achieved without each other. So we were just fundamentally really important to each other on a lot of levels. The obvious level of being able to train hard together and push each other on every session. For a long time, we were probably a couple of the only people who could push each other at that level across the three sports, and more psychologically to be able to go through it together. And we were young people traveling around, dealing with pressure and expectation, doing that together. I think that was important as well.
Out of your entire career, if there was one performance or result that you're most proud of, what would it be?
Yeah, it's so the obvious one for performance wise, the London Olympic Games, but there was lots of actually other ones where I was still on the start line thinking I've got like 0% chance or 0.5% chance of winning this, but I'm going to give it my best. And this is potentially the way that I can win it if it goes right. So, and yeah, a few of those I think I'm actually maybe a bit more proud of. There's one particular in Stockholm one year where I think I'd had an injury or something, or training hadn't been going right. And I just knew the odds were stacked against me winning. And I managed to kind of break away towards the end of the bike, get just like a 20-second gap. And it was enough to hold on with everything I had just about to win the race.
How do you do that though? How do you shift your mindset to be, gosh, I haven't had the best build up to this race. I'm standing on this start line. I'm, the double Olympic champion, or maybe we're in the double Olympic champion at the time in Stockholm. I'm expected to be the best in the world, and I am not feeling it. And then you're in the race and you get that break, and it's like, how do you hang on? How do you switch your brain from this is going to hurt to I am not letting this go?
For me, I've always thought that you don't need to believe that you can win something to win it. I think that's kind of a psychological fallacy, but you don't have to believe it, but you have to be able to imagine a path to be able to doing it, because you obviously have to carry it out, and you have to be kind of master of your own destiny. And so, yeah, I guess there's quite a lot of occasions where I stood there and thought, the chances of me winning this are really small, so I don't believe I'm going to win it. The probability is stacked against me. But if it was going to happen, this is how it would happen, and I'd go out and just try and execute that.
And then if you look at the results maybe that didn't go your way, is there any result that maybe the day didn't go the way you would have liked it, but you learned more from that race that helped you on your career further down the road?
Yeah, there's lots of those. That the obvious example, and of course, in a sporting career, you have many more bad days actually than you have good days, to be honest. But yeah, the obvious one of those was the Beijing Olympic Games. I was young as a 20-year-old and came 12th, and I literally went away from that race thinking, wow, I was winning with 3 kilometers to go and I came 12th, and that was a disaster of a result. But actually, for like 95% of this race, I was with the best in the world. All I have to do is find the last 5%, and if I can do that, I can be there, and that gave me kind of the motivation and inspiration to go away and find those few percent.
But what about when you're injured then, Alistair, trying to come back then to be on a start line? How do you reset every time and just come back on that start line with pure hope and aspiration?
With difficulty, and I think mostly because it wasn't really necessarily about the racing and the winning for me. It was about a love of training and a love of competing and a love of just being the best I could be. And so I think being driven by a fundamental kind of joy of the process. And so it was always not how do I get back to racing? It was how do I get back to training and doing what I enjoy doing in the process. And so looking at it through that lens, I think was really kind of good for me, because it just meant that it became a kind of step-by-step progression of, get back running first and then do a bit more running or a bit more cycling, and then get a bit fitter and do a bit more, and then get to this benchmark. And so everything was just on that process front. And yeah, I was never really benchmarking myself in terms of the race. I knew if I hit all those processes, I would be able to race well anyway. So it was about kind of executing that first.
So what do you miss now about professional sport, or do you miss any aspect of it?
Yeah, only one thing, and I haven't missed actually the racing yet at all. I'm doing all kinds of competitive things most days anyway, so that keeps that going. The one thing I miss is the simplicity of it. As an athlete, the only thing you have to do in life is train hard and get better every day. And there's something really nice in the simplicity of like that. I think it's probably part of the human condition. I don't think it's just me, where we actually quite like the simplicity and just having single goals. And I don't think there's anything else in life where you can have that kind of singular, super selfish focus. And I miss that, and being super fit. But on balance, I haven't regretted it yet.
Yeah. So what are you doing competitive wise? I know you mentioned the fell race that you were doing a while back, and you did the gravel race as well. You're doing it bits and pieces. So what are you doing now? What's the plan in terms of the athlete Alistair Brownlee versus the businessman Alistair Brownlee?
Well, I wouldn't say there is an athlete, Alistair Brownlee. There's just someone who's just trying to stay fit and active. Anyway, that's my strategy while I'm training and in my everyday life. But as soon as a gun goes off, I actually get way too competitive. I don't seem to be able to switch that off yet. So hopefully I'll learn to sometime very soon. But yeah, I think it's staying fit, doing the exercise that I want to do most days. I think that's important. I've got a bunch of races, challenges that I've always wanted to do. I'm doing something, well, a bit closer to home. I'm doing our next Brownlee Foundation events race, which is held on triathlon. I'm definitely doing that in September, probably the national gravel champs in September as well. Something called Gravel Burn in South Africa that looks amazing in November. And then I'm hoping to do Patagon Man in December as well. So like just a combination of things that I've wanted to do, and there'll be other things in between that.
Wow. That sounds like it's a full schedule.
Yeah, no, not really, because I'm not really training for. Well, I say I'm keeping fit, and I do run or cycle most days. So far, I've been swimming twice, and they've both been on holiday. So I'm probably going to need to do some swimming at some point.
What is it about triathletes when they retire? They just don't swim. I was chatting with Lauren Brandon, who we know was an exceptional swimmer, and she said she hadn't actually been back to a swimming pool since she had retired at the end of last season, which I couldn't get over. But she had cycled and she had run.
Yeah, no, I haven't either, and I keep meaning to do it, and I just haven't got around to. No, I think there's a few things like my exercise. I love being outside. I love exploring. I love being in the countryside. I love being social and doing it with friends and being competitive. You can't really do any of that swimming, and it's a time efficiency as well. I'm thinking I want to do the maximum amount of exercise I can do in this next 2 hours or whatever, and it's way better to do that running or cycling.
So, what does a typical week look like for you now in terms of training? Do you bike 2 or 3 times a week? How many coffee stops do you have on your 4 hour bike ride?
I actually don't have that many coffee stops. I do something every day, whether it's cycling or running, pretty much. So yeah, I mean, it depends. Like today, I was out for a couple of hours, but literally an hour of that was racing with my friends. And tomorrow, I'll probably go out and do a longer ride because I've got a bit more time, and then won't be able to do anything Thursday, Friday because I'm in London for meetings of various things. So yeah, it just comes ebbs and flows.
When you say racing with your friends, are you literally just going hell for leather down the country roads in the Yorkshire Dales?
Pretty much, yeah. Just trying to make life difficult for each other, yeah.
And can anybody keep up with you?
Yeah. There's lots of good fit athletes around here, yeah.
I love it. Now, speaking of athletes that are around there, we obviously have Ironman Leeds coming to town. I think this podcast will be live a couple of days by the time Ironman Leeds rolls around. The first time it's ever taking place in Leeds. So there's lots of excitement, a sold out field. And we also have pro men's field racing with Sam Laidlaw and Joe Skipper, probably the two headliners. And Kieran Linders actually, I think, was on that start list as well. But Alistair, tell me, do you know what the athletes can expect in terms of the course? You live close to it. I'm sure you've trained on the course for many years. What can the athletes look forward to out there?
Yeah, I kind of know it quite well. I hadn't looked at the actual course until about half an hour ago. The swim is nice, mostly nice in the lake, although to get the distance in, they have to go into the corners, so it'll be a bit dodgy in the corners. So watch out, it'll be weedy and don't swallow any water in there. And the bike course, yeah, it's kind of just around the outskirts of Leeds. It doesn't go into the Yorkshire Dales proper at all. I think they've had to fit it in within like the Leeds city boundaries. And so it's like a combination, to be honest, of a bunch of roads I wouldn't normally ride on because they're either A, too busy or B, too rubbish. So yeah, it's an interesting course. It's going to be very, very slow, both in terms of the hills, road quality, lots of corners, just what you want when you're doing an Ironman, I'd say.
The big climb is the Black Hill Road climb that they'll actually have to complete 3 times. Any tips for getting up that hill?
I know Black Hill very well. I live a kilometre away from it. So yeah, and it's a hill just on the outskirts of Leeds. If you go very hard up the steep bit, it's 3 minutes long. I can tell you exactly because I've done lots of 3 minute like VO2 efforts up it in my time.
Have you the KOM on that climb?
No, definitely not, because it's the tour of Britain, and I think the tour of Yorkshire's gone up it and various other races. So there's been some proper professional cyclists. Yeah, it's just steep. It's going to be a few minutes of relatively steep climbing, and make sure you have a nice low gear on your bike so you can get up it easily. But it flattens off, and then there's quite a long downhill off the back of it on mostly terrible road quality as well. So
I'm sure the council will be out to fix some of those roads now, Alistair. They usually do a good job of getting those roads sorted before the Ironman events.
Yeah, we'll see. And then, but yeah, to be honest, it's not I mean, that's a steep bit of hill, but it's not that long a hill. It's more the fact, I think, that really none of it's probably flat. It's just all slightly up or downhill and slow riding with corners on it and stuff. So yeah, I think it's just more the constant changes of direction, slow road surfaces and constant up and down that will be a challenge. It'll suit people who can kind of ride a bike fast and efficiently across roads, across time, rather than just like pure time trial style riders.
So the question then is it a time trial bike if you're an age grouper, or is it a road bike?
I personally would always ride a time trial bike, but you want a time trial bike with nice wide tyres, relatively low PSI and a nice low gear.
Now, there we go. Insider tip. I wonder will any of the pros take the tip? And then, of course, it's a 4-loop run course as well, which is probably going to have a huge party atmosphere because we are expecting to have so many spectators at the event.
Yeah, I think the crowds will be one thing that'll be really special in Leeds. Triathlon's always really well supported. It's a great area of town around where the park is and stuff, and I think that'll be super special. So yeah, that'll be nice. It's quite. I can't tell from the map where you quite go every lap because the bit out of transition is a big hill to start with up through the middle of the park. So that'll be a challenge, and then the bit on the top. Some of it's nice, and then some of it's basically just round kind of just suburban streets and a bit around the park. So it'll be nice.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be some street parties like there used to be at Ironman Ireland. They used to have the street parties in some of those housing estates. And of course, it is the final chance, I think, for Sam Laidlow to validate his race entry for the Ironman World Championship. Any thoughts on who might win the World Championships this year, and maybe who would you like to see winning it?
Yeah, good luck to Sam to qualify. I've got no doubt he will. He was very impressive in Roth a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, in terms of the men who can win, I mean, yeah, it's competitive at the moment, isn't it? I mean, there's a bunch of guys up there who can be pretty close. So yeah, I don't know. I think two things. I don't know, and it's amazingly how quickly you lose track of it. Like if you start, I was saying if you start like interacting with other things on social media, you like don't even know things are going on. It's incredible. So I'm a bit out of the loop already, to be honest.
Yeah, and there is a crop of some incredible young athletes coming through as well with the Ironman Pro Series. We saw that in Swansea. Some of the young guns coming through were absolutely amazing. And even on in particular on the women's side on Sunday with Rebecca Anderbury, she really had a breakthrough performance. She was only a couple of minutes off Kat Matthews and then held her own to hold off Anne Reichman and Daniela Kleiser on the run course. Like, it was absolutely brilliant to watch them, and they're just younger every time coming through. It's brilliant. I think that the Ironman Pro Series has elevated the racing that we're getting, but then also elevated the performances that athletes need to put in to be on the podium. It's getting faster and faster all the time. Would you like to still be racing against some of these guys, these young guns coming up?
Yeah, I think it does get faster all the time. I think having more people, the model where you've got more athletes doing less races, so they're being more competitive, I think is a good one. It just, as you say, elevates people to perform better, which is what we all want to see, isn't it? Would I still like to be racing? I mean, yeah, I would. Racing is what I love doing, but I'm also really happy not to be. I haven't once watched an event and gone, oh, I actually wish I was in that. Yeah, I'm very happy to have moved on, and you'll be able to get up and just go and ride my bike for enjoyment tomorrow morning, to be honest.
Absolutely. But if you could race one event again, anywhere, any era, what would it be?
Oh, I always race the Olympic Games. Yeah, that's the one and only triathlon I do for sure. Yeah, the Olympics is just the most special sporting event on the planet for so many reasons, for sporting reasons and without the sport. And I was obviously lucky enough to be in Paris last year, right on the side of the course for the triathlon. And yeah, that event was a level above, anything I've ever watched, and mostly what I've been in it, absolutely incredibly special.
You are involved as well with the Olympic Committee.
Yeah, I'm very lucky enough to be an athlete representative on the Olympic Committee, which is really cool. And means I get to go to the Olympic Games and watch lots of sport, which is fantastic, and represent the athletes of the Olympic movement, which is a real privilege.
When you look at your life in the spotlight, and then you look at your life yourself, your own habits, your own rituals, what do you do to stay grounded so that you don't get lost in all of the success that you've had, or the high profile celebrity status that you would have? What is there a ritual? Is there a daily habit that you would have other than cycling or running every day that keeps you grounded and just keeps you focused on moving forward?
Well, I think firstly, triathlon is the kind of sport where you'd have to work quite hard not to be grounded, because it's not that high profile, and still the majority of the time, the majority of people have no idea who you are and let you get on with being who you want to be. I think secondly, I actually really don't like the fame part of it. I hate actually having that aspect. And I think thirdly, it is actually the cycling, running that does keep you grounded, and swimming. It's, that to be a good athlete, you've ultimately got to put the work in and go out and do the simple things really well, go training every day. And, that is the thing that probably still actually, grounds me even away from that side of it, in terms of if I've been stressed or too busy or or whatever it might be. The thing that makes me feel most like me is going out and going for a run. So I think that is important.
And away from the sport and away from business, what do you do to just chill out?
Go cycling and running. No, that.
I mean, like, do you sit down and watch a movie? Do you read a book?
Yeah,
Do you listen to podcasts?
I do. I read a lot. I do read a lot. I listen to podcasts quite a lot when I'm riding on or running on my own, and relaxing. But yeah, a lot. It sounds funny, doesn't it? But a lot of the best way for me to relax is to be active. I walk a bit, but if I feel like I need to do something to relax and enjoyment, I'll go out and ride a mountain bike, just go out and go for fun and see where it takes me.
Do you ever go training without your watch, your heart rate monitor?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Do you? There's a lot of freedom in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of freedom in that for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's good for you. Just go out and enjoy while you're out,
I was going to ask you, how do you define success today? What does success look like for you now versus when you were racing professionally?
On a day-to-day basis, when I was racing, as I said earlier, success is really easy because have you done all your training today, and have you got better? Have you made yourself the best athlete you can in that day? And it's quite kind of easy binary thing, really. And I don't think anything in life is quite as easy as that. It's simple. And so for me, now it's a combination of things. I want to be kind of good in my life to the people around me. I want to do enough exercise to make myself feel like me, and to make myself feel like I've had a good day and fulfilled that. And in my work and business capacities, I want to be an effective operator at what I'm doing, and executing the things I've got to do to the best of my ability on that day. So yeah, I very much still follow the kind of athlete mentality, I guess, of self-responsibility and trying to do what needs doing. I enjoy working on that basis.
Do you think, will you write another book?
Yeah, I would love to, actually. I've been thinking about another book to write, something about kind of taking on new challenges and that kind of thing, for sure.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
This is such a good question, and I'm never quite sure how to answer it, because it's tempting fate, isn't it? I could tell myself, oh, you should believe, or you should train harder, or just don't worry and enjoy it. But all those things might have ultimately changed what I did, and meant that I didn't achieve what I did. So yeah, I wouldn't like tempt fate, but that's not to say I did everything right, because there's all kinds of things I could have done better. But I wouldn't now, on reflection, want to cause any big changes.
You've inspired so many people around the globe, Alistair, with your results, your drive, your determination. What do you hope people will take from your journey and the legacy that you leave behind within the sport and beyond the sport?
I think that, endurance sports are obviously amazing. And anyone can do it. I've worked so hard at that in triathlon to try and change the image that it's something that's not necessarily accessible, and telling people that literally anyone can do it. But I think most importantly that, with hard work, dedication over a long period of time, you can achieve amazing things. I tell a lot of people I never believed I was good enough. Even when London won the bid to win the Olympic Games, I didn't believe I was good enough to even be there, never mind win. So, and 7 years later, I was stood on the start line as the overwhelming favourite. So yeah, you never know where hard work might lead.
Absolutely. And I think that's the perfect end to a great chat with you, Alistair. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I hope our listeners who are racing in Leeds will take on some of the advice that you've given them. And I wish you every success. Thanks so much again for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. If you would like to hear more great episodes of the podcast, be sure to check them out on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, X, LinkedIn and Instagram. And as always, if you have any feedback or guest suggestions, please email me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. I really would love to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening. Stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.